Okay. All right, so more will probably join us as we go, which is totally okay. So thank you, beautiful women, for coming and just taking some time out before Christmas and before we enter a whole new year and all sorts of wonderful things as we move into another decade. I wanted to just take some time to talk about or answer one of the most common questions that I get asked, or one of the most common things that people ask when they find out what I do. So what is yoni massage? What is this incredible thing that I talk about a lot and that terrifies a lot of people and makes a lot of people really uncomfortable? So I wanted to, I've done this webinar a few times before, but I haven't done it for about, well, maybe 8 months. So I thought I wanted to just do a refresher and cover it again, because it's a really important foundation that women, I think, need to hear about, be educated about. Like anything to do with women's sexuality, empowerment, feminine power, it's taboo. There's a huge lack of education around it, and there's just no information. You can Google it and you end up with all sorts of false truths and down all kinds of rabbit holes. So part of my mission with Temple of She is to get as much information and education out there that is accurate, truthful, and helpful for women. So that's part of what this webinar is about for all of you. So thank you for saying yes to that and being here. So very briefly, I will introduce myself for those of you who have no idea who I am. And there's a lot of new faces that registered for this webinar, which is really exciting. And some of you I've met in person, which is even better. So I am Amy, and I am the founder and creator of Temple of She. So Temple of She is my, I was going to say my business, but it's so much more than that. For me, it's my heart and my soul. And it's a place that I have created for women to come and explore who they are sexually, to explore who they are as a sexual woman, how they show up in the world, and how do they, if they want to change that, how do they go about that? So how do they become the ultimate of what they feel sexually, without inhibition and without judgment and shame and all of the shit that we have accumulated over the years to really bury us as suppressive sexual women. So I offer Yoni Massage, I offer the 12-week immersion online program, I offer Yoni Massage Practitioner training now for women to really step up and own who they are as a sexual woman. And all of those meet the women where they are at, because that's so important. Each of you sitting here today has your own journey, has your own story and experiences that have shaped you as a sexual woman. So it's really important for me as a practitioner to meet you where you're at with that. So I am a midwife as well. I've been a midwife for over a decade, and that has really given me a solid foundation of understanding about women and women's power, innate power that we all have, and how to tap into that and how to create a space, a safe space for women to be able to do that. And now my biggest mission is to get yoni massage accessible, to make it normal, and to really shred the taboos that are around it. And through that, I'm training women to be practitioners who are at a very, very high standard. So part of the problem is that this is an industry that has no regulation. It has no existing standard at all. So part of my mission is to create that standard and to create practitioners who meet that on an ongoing basis. And also doing things like this so that you can access information. So what is yoni massage? Some of you here may have had one, some of you may have no idea what it is and thought, that sounds interesting, what's that? So yoni, the word yoni is Sanskrit for sacred cave, womb space. Now there is no word in the English language that describes that whole space in its entirety. We have a word for each individual part, anatomical part, vagina, vulva, labia, clitoris, womb, uterus, fallopian tubes, all of that, but we have no word for the whole of that space. So that's why I use the word yoni. If we had a word in English, I would use that, because yoni is not my native language. And so I use that word because we have no alternative. So yoni massage then is massage of that area of a woman, a massage of the vulva, of the vaginal canal, of all of those aspects of you. So a yoni massage is a full body massage that includes internal and external massage. Now, for a lot of women, that's like, what? Why would you do that? That's very confronting. That's very full on. And yes, it is. It's huge. It is one of the most powerful modalities that I have ever come across, which is why I do it, which is why I offer it, and which is why I train women to become practitioners of it, because this is like nothing else. It is huge to step into a space with a practitioner and get naked and become vulnerable. And the reason that that's so important is because as women, our power is in our vulnerability. So you really have to get fucking vulnerable first so that you can acknowledge your power, because that is where we break down the barriers. That is where we break down the fears and really get to know what's stopping us and break through them to step into our power on the other side. So a yoni massage, the way that I do it and the way that I teach it is what I'm going to talk to you about today. If you go to another practitioner or somewhere else, they may do things slightly differently, and that's totally okay. So what I'm telling you today is my approach and my philosophy around yoni massage. So when a woman comes in for the massage, first it starts with a conversation. Why are you here? What is your intention for this? Because women come to this work usually for a specific reason, and that's different for all women. Women come because they might be 40, 50 years old and have never been able to have an orgasm. What's wrong with me? Please explain to me my body and tell me what's wrong with it. Why isn't it working? They might come because they have birth trauma. They've had a horrendous birth experience. They might come because they have a history of sexual abuse or sexual trauma, and they want to overcome that, or they want to break it down and move through it. They might come because they've had to have a hysterectomy for whatever reason, and they feel detached from their femininity, or they feel detached from their feminine power, and they just want to go into a space that allows them to reclaim that again. And, you know, hysterectomy is something that is, if you have take a look at the history of hysterectomy, it is something that doctors, medicine, gynecological doctors have been doing for a very long time because they don't know what else to do. Even today in our society, it is the thing that we do because we don't know how else to fix gynecological issues in women. So we just remove the uterus, because there's a lot about the feminine reproductive system that we don't know, that we don't understand. If you look in textbooks for medicine, midwives, nurses, any other health professional that use physios, that work with this area, there's an incredible lack of information, just basically on the anatomy makeup of how it functions. Like the clitoris might have one sentence about her function, when it is one of the most intricate areas that has so many pieces to it, yet it gets one sentence. So these health professionals aren't being taught from the very beginning the intricacies, the details, the ins and outs, the complexities of our reproductive system. So it's no wonder that they have no idea how to actually deal with it when things go wrong. So we can't actually blame them. It's a multifactorial system that has multifactorial failures in it. And a hysterectomy has become the one and only best cure for any gynecological issues. And, you know, if you even look at the word hysterectomy, hyster comes from hysteria. So they're cutting out the hysteria from women. And that comes from the history of hysterectomies, because originally the story was that we as women have wandering wombs, which means they wander around our bodies. They don't have a fixed place, and that's what makes us crazy. That's what makes us irrational and emotional and postnatally depressed and all of these things. It's when our womb has a wander around our body, and so they have to bring it back into place. And so our hysteria comes from that. So if we just fix everything and cut it out, we take the hysteria out, problem solved. You've got a sane woman on your hands, which of course it didn't work. Funny that. So hysterectomy still has that name. Any other surgery or operation is named after the organ that is being removed, except a hysterectomy. So technically it should be a uterectomy. Yeah, so it's still based on that. So the medical world is still lacking a lot when it comes to female reproductive system and how we function and our sexual purpose in the world. So yeah, a woman may come because she's experienced that. A woman may come because she's orgasmic, she has a fabulous sex life, she has an amazing partner, and she just wants to see what else is possible. What else can my body do? What else am I capable of? What else can happen here in this space? I want to push this and see how far I can go. A woman might come because she just has this edge when it comes to having an orgasm. She just can't let herself go there. She can't just get over that little hill to fully let go and experience and receive the full capacity of her pleasure. So she just wants to go into a safe space with a practitioner that she trusts to just feel that edge and be supported to step over it. So women can come for all kinds of reasons. And that's where it's really important to be able to cater to that for each woman. So that's why we have a discussion at the beginning. Why are you here? What's the reason? And then as a practitioner, that gives me an idea of how to hold this space for her. I ask questions like, how do you feel about your vagina? How do you feel about your vulva? Have you looked at her? What's your relationship with her? What's your relationship with pleasure and sex and orgasm? How satisfied or unsatisfied are you with all of that within yourself, your current relationship? We have a conversation about all of those things. And it starts the woman to feel the energy that she wants to tap into for that session. I then explain to her exactly what is going to happen, the whole session. This is very deeply sexual work, and it's really important that she feels safe and that she trusts me as a practitioner. And in that case, she needs to know exactly what's going to happen. A lot of courses and things that you experience, there's a lot of mystery. You don't really know what you're stepping into, which has a magic of its own, but not in Yoni massage. It's really important that there is absolute 100% full disclosure that a woman knows exactly what she's stepping into, because it creates safety. And it's really important that she asks any questions that she wants to. So if you are stepping into this, ask. Do not hesitate to question your practitioner. You absolutely must really follow your intuition at this point. I then talk to the woman about consent. Consent is everything. It is absolutely vital for this process. So I educate the woman about consent, and I talk about 3 layers of consent. We have consent, which is, I'm going to do this to you now. Not really consent. Then we have informed consent, which is what a lot of health professionals talk about and maybe or maybe not do. And that is, this is the procedure that's going to happen. This is what's involved. This is what you can expect. Is that okay if I do that to you now? Often with a bit of manipulation, coercion, and intimidation. We then have full-bodied consent, and that is what I work on and nothing less. Full-bodied consent is where any time that you ask a woman permission to do something or to touch her or anything with her, you give her the opportunity to feel into her entire body, physical, energetic, emotional, all aspects of herself, to feel a full-bodied yes. To feel within her entire body that she says yes to this. Every single cell is feeling a yes. And if there is any part of her that feels a no, then it's a no. And you honor that. And I encourage women to honor that as well, because that is where our work is. It's when there's a no that there's a fear or there's a hesitation or there's something there. So that's what we're there to work on. It's no good to brush past that, push on and do work, because you're just doing it at a very superficial level and you're not actually achieving what she came to achieve. So it's really important that the woman feels safe enough to say no. And for a lot of women, that's all they need. They just need an opportunity to say no and have that 100% respected. There are so many times in our lives, whether it involves abuse or trauma or not, where we have said no and it hasn't been respected. Or it's been kind of moved around or pushed past or manipulated into a yes or guilted into a yes. So this is a really important opportunity for women to say yes or no and have that absolutely 100% respected. You can see the difference that that would make if all health professionals, institutions, organizations worked on the basis of full-bodied consent. What a different fucking world it would be. You know, that means women actually get a choice then, which changes everything. So I have a really important conversation with the woman about consent first. And for her to know that everything we do in that session is based on her consent and her consent alone, nothing else. She is in full control the entire time. She dictates how far we go, how deep we go, how much release she has. Nothing is pushed. One of the biggest things that I teach my practitioners is there is no agenda. Leave your agenda at the door. This is not about you as a practitioner. It is not about you as a practitioner to make your client cry, to make her have an orgasm, to get her to have some kind of release. This isn't about you looking for her feedback and telling you that you did a great job. It's not about you as the practitioner. This is about the woman, the client who is in front of you right now. You leave your agenda at the door, which allows the woman to fully receive and be able to experience that in the way that she needs to without expectation. Many of our sexual experiences and encounters with lovers and partners, there's always a level of expectation. Okay, if I do this for her, then she'll give me a blowjob. If I do this for her, then we can have sex. If I do this for her, then there's possibly always a level of expectation. Even if it's not in that moment. Remember last week when I gave you that really good fingering or whatever? Yeah, it comes back with expectation. So this is a really important time for women to step into a space where there is no expectation. It is all about her. This is an opportunity for you as a woman to 100% be revered and worshipped for who you are as a woman. Nothing else. You know, the history of Yoni massage is priestesses in the temple, and their job, their only job, was to initiate girls into womanhood through pleasure. Because what that did was it taught them what they're worth, the standard of which they are to expect, to give and receive in life. You are worth this much, and everything is dictated from this space. You can imagine what that would do for a woman if she learnt from the moment she stepped into her womanhood that was her level of worth. It impacts everything, which is why I do this work, because it's not just about sexuality. This impacts who you are in your relationships, who you are as a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, who you are in business, in financially, how you manage your finances, everything. This has an impact on all of that. So it's really important to remember that this isn't just about a sexual experience. And I say that to my practitioners, this training will touch every aspect of your life. And they're like, yeah. 4 months in, they're all like, fuck, this has happened and that's happened and this has changed and this is changing. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna touch every single aspect of who you are as a woman. You can't not. So once I have that conversation with the woman and once she's ready, I invite her then for an undressing. And the undressing is where she stands and is witnessed by me to remove her clothing, one item at a time. And as she does, she verbally says out loud what she wishes to let go of. So that might be letting go of judgment, letting go of hatred of her body, letting go of a shitty past relationship. And it can be one word or an entire sentence or paragraph, whatever it is that she wants to let go of in that time and space. And being witnessed in that, and you can see a woman's body language, the more naked she gets, the more vulnerable she becomes. And to be witnessed and just seen standing there naked. It's incredibly vulnerable, so beautiful and so powerful. And then when she's ready, she lies face down. And we always start face down. Why? If you think about how do you feel more safe? Lying face down or laying on your back feeling more exposed? So it's really important that this is a step-by-step process where the woman is comfortable and safe. So we always start lying face down, and it begins with a full body massage. Now, this is not a remedial massage. in any way, shape or form. This is not where we get out your knots and all of that stuff. No, this is about connection. It's about touch. It's about sensual touch. We look at nurturing touch, sensual touch, and sexual touch are the three forms of touch that my practitioners use. And this is about feeling the woman's body and just nurturing all these little places, the erogenous zones, we call them, like in the crease of your elbow, or on the backs of your knees, or around the creases of your buttocks. Just these beautiful places that very rarely get attention or touch. And just feeling them guided by the practitioner's intuition and allowing the woman to fall into a space of just bliss, pleasure, receiving, opening. And that touch allows the nervous system to relax. Oxytocin touch is like this super light feather touch, which stimulates the hormone oxytocin to be released. Now, oxytocin is the hormone of love, and that allows a woman to really start to open up and feel whatever that she needs to feel in that space. So we work on the back for a good 45 minutes to really allow the woman to relax, to trust you, to feel like she is safe and okay. And often the process already begins. I've had many women have huge releases just in that part. Then when the time is right, we ask the woman to roll over, and we do the same on the front, including everywhere. Breasts, belly, inner thighs, everywhere. Massaging all parts of this woman, her face, her hair, just holding her and caressing her. And, you know, it's one of, I think for me, it's such an incredible privilege to do this, because I get to fall in love with this woman and feel her body, her shape, her curves, her edges as I stroke her body, and just allow that connection to form between us and just fall in love with who she is. And in the hope that she sees what I see or feels what I feel. And that's where the vulnerability starts to really crack open, and the woman begins to feel whatever she may. And now women express themselves in all different ways during yoni massage. They may cry, they may scream and yell like bloody murder. They may talk and have memories triggered, or moments triggered, or stories or relationships that they need to talk through. Or they may completely disassociate because it's too confronting, it's too uncomfortable. And so they might just open their eyes and stare at the ceiling. Or they might just start talking about their children's lunch and how they need to go to the supermarket and get all those things, blah, 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 because it just removes them from what they're facing right now. And my job as a practitioner, and what I train my practitioners to do, is to bring her back. Come back into the space, back into your breath. Your breath is always there and always safe. And then we allow the woman to address what's actually happening for her, what's really coming up for her. And we do that in a way and at a level that she is okay with, that she is comfortable with. There is no pushing. There is no pushing. It's really important with women and sexuality that you never, ever push, because that's not going to end well. And that's where re-traumatizing a woman happens. And that's not the role of a yoni massage. So then again, when the woman and the practitioner feels ready, the practitioner moves in between the woman's legs and straddles. So the woman's thighs are kind of over the woman, so she's almost straddling her. So her vagina is open and right in front of the practitioner. And they continue with more external body work, breasts, belly, inner thighs, massaging the groin, all of those inner thighs, those beautiful sensual areas. And then when the practitioner intuitively feels that it's time, she asks the woman permission to touch the external of her yoni. And that is where the full-bodied consent comes in. And the woman needs to take her time and feel a yes or a no. And if it's a no, she needs to speak it, because again, that's where the work is to be done. That's where the diving in deeper needs to happen. And that's where I train my practitioners different tools and approaches to allow that to happen. So if the woman says yes, then the external vaginal massage begins. And that's where every little piece gets time and attention. The clitoris is not just this one little bit that sticks out the top above your vaginal opening. She has legs which run down through the labia. So the labia are actually highly sensitive. So massaging the labia, each little part, and stroking them and feeling every part, and every woman's labia is different, so the inner and the outer. And really taking time to address every little part. She might have huge, big, flappy ones that you can stretch wide and give a lot of time and attention to, or she might have little teeny tiny ones that you can barely just run your fingers up and down. So you give them whatever they need from you. And it's, the groin, the mons pubis, so the area above where the pubic hair normally grows. If she has pubic hair, to massage it, run your fingers through it. Yoni massage was where I fell in love with pubic hair. Before that, I had a completely, shaved pubic area, because that's what I thought was sexy. That's what I thought my partner wanted, and that's what I thought was the right thing to have. And so I use all kind of things like, those horrible Nair hair remover creams that are like fucking paint thinner, all sorts of things on my poor little yoni. And then when I started doing this, I had women coming to me with the most incredible big bushes, and I was just like, wow, that is amazing. And it's so amazing to play with and stimulate and feel. And I was just like, wow, pubic hair is kind of cool. So I grew my bush back, and and I fully acknowledge that it's a part of a woman that she needs to express however the fuck she wants to. It doesn't matter if you want it to be bald, or it doesn't matter if you want it to be hairy. It makes no fucking difference. It's like the hair on our heads. Do with it what you will. But it's, it's a beautiful part that, like everything else, can be acknowledged and played with and stimulated. And even if there's no hair, just the mons pubis, the skin, and just massaging that beautiful area. The groin, the perineum, that area of skin between the vaginal opening and the anus, just massaging in there, all of these different areas, and giving each part time. Clitoris, giving her time and attention, and almost teasing her, moving around the clitoris, the clitoral hood, because the clitoris, of course, is super, super, super sensitive. 85% of women can only experience orgasms through the clitoris because it's so sensitive. It has over 8,000 nerve endings in that one little part. So often it can be super hypersensitive. And so in a yoni massage, that's where you really learn how to stimulate it with the woman and how sensitive it is for her, and how you need to go about doing that. So massaging all of those areas, and then sometimes a lot of release can come just from those areas. And then again, you get to a point where the practitioner intuitively asks permission to enter the vaginal canal. And again, the woman must feel into her body, feel full-bodied consent, and say yes or no. And if she says yes, then the practitioner enters very, very, very slowly to allow that sensation and that entrance into this space. Often by this point, there's a lot of turn on in the body. There's a lot of sexual energy flowing. We have meridians that run through our body, that the sexual energy, they're kind of like highways that the sexual energy runs. It's very common for women in yoni massage to get tingling, numb hands, like almost pins and needles, and it can even spread up and into your face, and it's just the sexual energy running through the channels. So often that is really heightened at this time, and the arousal is very high. The blood, what happens when you massage something anywhere in your body? If you massage your hand right now, it encourages blood flow, oxygen into that area. So by massaging the external vaginal area, you are creating oxygenated tissue, blood flow, which brings arousal, which brings swelling, erectile. Okay, it becomes aroused and the area swells. So when you are having sex or masturbation and you're turned on and you feel that area, it's often more swollen than when you're not in that state. So by the time you enter, there's a lot of arousal happening. You'll feel the pulse. Women have a pulse when you turn on. If you've ever felt that kind of turn on or horniness feeling and you feel this throbbing in your pussy, it's the pulse of turn on. And that signifies blood flow, oxygenation. Now, if a woman is numb in this area, she may not experience that, because numbness comes from cutting off that circulation. So going internal, and we then begin with mapping. Now, there's a difference there's 3 techniques that I teach my practitioners. That's yoni massage, yoni mapping, and de-armoring. So those 3 are used then in this internal space. Yoni mapping is exactly that. It's mapping out the area. This is your G spot. This is your cervix. This is your A spot. This is your Skene's gland. Mapping out the area. And we do it almost like a clock. So we go around the numbers of the clock and showing the woman all the different parts of her internal cavity and the ligaments. And like anywhere in your body, vaginal muscles have knots. And you can feel them. When you go in there with your finger, you can feel them. They can be like a tiny grain of rice, or it can be like a golf ball. And when you start to massage those areas, that's where release comes. Because the vaginal area is unique in that when you massage these areas, it's connected emotionally. Okay, because our vaginal canal, our uterus, our cervix, everything is connected to the vagus nerve, which connects to our heart space. So our womb center is very much an emotional center, a creativity center, an energetic center, which is what makes women so fucking powerful if we allowed ourselves to stand into it. So these knots are directly connected to emotional suppression, emotional blockages. All of the shit that you have suppressed in your life, you've squashed it very efficiently down to your vagina, quite literally. So when you go in there and start massaging those areas, shit comes up, things shift, things happen. So that's why this area is so unique. And again, why yoni massage is so fucking powerful. So going in and massaging those areas, and they can either be numb, painful, or pleasurable. And the woman will very clearly divulge which it is for her and what's happening. So if a woman is very numb, often there's more mapping occurs in a session because you need to be explaining to her, okay, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, can you feel that? And she's like, no, can't feel anything, no idea where you are. So what massage does, as I said before, it brings oxygenated blood back into the tissue. It's re-oxygenating the tissue. That is going to get rid of numbness. What happens when your leg goes numb? As the blood flow starts to come back, it's really fucking intense feeling, yeah? It can almost be painful. So when the numbness eases, pain comes in. So often she will then feel pain, and then that will eventually, when she's ready and okay and open to receiving it, move into pleasure. So knowing what the woman is feeling guides you as a practitioner how far you need to go with this and what techniques you need to use. So de-armoring is, armor is a coat, a protective coat that you put around yourself. De-armoring is getting rid of that protectiveness. So de-armoring is basically deep tissue massage for the vaginal canal. So it is intense pressure and massage on particular areas within the vaginal canal. And that is, it can be painful, it can be uncomfortable, but not always. And it pretty much always comes with some kind of release, because that's why we're doing it. We're there to shift stuff. We're there to move things. We're there to make a permanent difference. Yoni massage is not just a feel-good experience. We are there to create permanent change for this woman. She is going to walk out of this session with a difference in her life forever, not just a temporarily nice little maybe orgasm and then carry on. So de-armoring, yoni massage, and mapping are the 3 main techniques. Yoni massage is literally massaging all of those areas, and often that's where the pleasure strokes come in. So that's where you may experience pleasure. You may orgasm, you may not. It is by no means the goal, and it is by no means guaranteed in a session that that is what will happen. If it does, awesome, bonus. If it doesn't, that's totally okay as well. There's one thing that I know makes a lot of women uncomfortable. Oh my God, what if I orgasm? Okay, what if you do? What does that mean? What does that matter? It's another layer of uncomfortability of stepping into this space, another layer of vulnerability stepping into this space. So the massage kind of just takes its own path, guided by you as the receiver, as the woman. And the practitioner meets you where you're at with that, the different strokes, the different processes, holding your hand, massaging your breasts, all of these at the same time to facilitate that vulnerability and the release and the holding and the nurturing that you need as a woman in this process. Once that whatever needs to be achieved in the internal area is done, then the practitioner very, very, very slowly removes her fingers from the internal. And it's really important to do that, because if you just pull them out suddenly, it's like, oh, it's a shock to the system. So it's very important that it's all done slowly. And at that point, you are so heightened to touch, so heightened to sensuality, that any touch is like amplified in a very, very big way. That's why I even teach my practitioners how to correctly cover you with a sarong afterwards, because you can't just dump it on her, because she is really in a heightened state in that moment. So everything is done with absolute nurturing and love and attention and intention. It's really, really important. So then once the practitioner has removed their hands, their physical body from you, she covers you with a sarong to create that cocooning, that nurturing, that just bringing you back into closing the space. And then after that, there's bringing you back down to earth, basically grounding you, bringing you back into the space, because lots and lots and lots of different things can happen during a yoni massage. It's a highly energetic experience as well as a physical. So it's really important that the woman is brought back down into her body and feels grounded and safe, especially if she has to go and drive home or whatever it is. And then the practitioner will sit with you and just debrief. How are you feeling? What did you experience? What happened? How did this feel? How did that feel? And it's another opportunity for the woman to just talk through, what on earth did I just experience? And any questions she might have around that. And a yoni massage generally goes for about 2.5 to 3 hours. So that's quite a significant amount of time. It's an in-depth period of time. And probably about roughly 45 minutes of that is spent doing internal vaginal work. So that the whole thing isn't all in your vagina, just that 45 minutes, usually half an hour to 5 minutes. Sometimes women, you go internal and they're like, oh, no, that was a big hard no, get out. And that's totally fine. That's okay. I've had women who come for a yoni massage and we never go internally. And that's totally okay, because that's exactly what she needed. She needed that respected and honored. And there was just as much work that we could do on the outside that we didn't even need to enter the inside. And then you have women who come and it feels like you just scratched the surface and you might have spent an hour inside. And you know that she's going to need another session. You know that there's more work to be done. You've literally just scratched the surface on this, and she will feel it as well. So it's very different for all women. So then once that process is finished, the woman is invited to dress herself. So each item of clothing she puts on, she is then going to call in what she now wants, what she has experienced, what she has felt, and what she wants more of in her life. And that might be calling in love. It might be calling in self-love. It might be calling in respect. It might be calling in her dream job. It might be calling in her dream lover. It might be calling in that amazing holiday that she's been dreaming of for years. Like whatever, there is no limits here, and it doesn't have to be sexually orientated, because every woman's experience is going to be so different within that. So then after that, the session closes, and one of the most important points that I teach my practitioners is that at that point, you never say goodbye to your client and never see them again. That is not okay. That is unethical, and it is not moral. So what happens is that you have a debrief session with your client 1 to 2 weeks later. That is so important, because the yoni massage is huge. It allows a woman to meet so many insecurities, fears, and vulnerabilities that she has. You have to support her after that, because after you have a yoni massage, you will go through a fucking roller coaster of emotions. Oh my God, what the hell did I just do? Oh my God, the shame, the judgment, conversations with other people. You did what? Oh my God, I let a woman stick her fingers inside of me. All kinds of things come up. Shit, does that mean I'm a lesbian now? Like, I've had it all. So it's so important to scaffold her a week or two later and just allow her to debrief all of that, address anything that she needs to from that space, and to support her as she makes that transition after the massage. So not all practitioners do that, but for me and the practitioners that I train, that's a non-negotiable. That is part of the package. That is part of what the woman buys and signs up for when she books a yoni massage in. And it's completely non-negotiable. It's unethical to do anything else. Women are worth so much more. That's just, yeah, it's non-negotiable. So in a nutshell, that is what yoni massage is. So I would love if you have any questions. I'm going to stop the recording so that you can feel free to